this one sounds familiar, that's because it really is. The Boston Bruins are taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Bruins are coming in at minus 120 favorites to win the series, and the Leafs are coming in at even money, plus 100 to upset the Bees. Big storyline that all of Bruins Twitter is throwing in the face of hashtag Leafs forever. Boston swept the season series 4-0. So the Leafs have struggled against Boston this year. I think it's worth noting two of those wins were in either an overtime or a shootout. I mean, the storylines are all the same. Toronto's explosive. They can score with the best of them. And Boston's probably got the best goaltending tandem in the league, and they've got pretty good D. I don't know. What are your guys' initial
Hang on.
thoughts?
Do they have the best goaltending tandem in the league this year?
I would, I would, I would probably say yes.
I'm not saying no. I'm not asking because I disagree. I just think it's worth debating real quick.
I Swayman started out really hot. Then he
Who
kind of
else
cooled
would you put
off.
up there?
Who's even the game one start? This is kind of where I actually start to question Boston because somebody said it. I think when I was watching that Caps Bruins game last week, they were talking about the tandem in Boston, and they said that was that NHL Network game. So they were talking about it on the network in between periods, and they said there's basically been no team ever to win a cup.
Yes.
With like two goalies splitting time like that. There's been teams that start with a guy, he plays a couple games, they flip the switch, go to the other guy, they win or whatever. Obviously we saw the Caps do that in 2018. There's been other teams like that, but there's
Penguins did it.
Larry Murray, yeah.
Right, you're right. But they're gonna have to figure something out where who is the guy? That's what worries me a little bit with them.
I think I can't remember who said it. It was on NHL Network today. I was watching previewing the show. They're saying that Boston's just going to rotate. That they aren't going to have they would. I've read that there are people who are saying they would not be shocked, regardless if game one is a shutout or not. They just rotate Swayman and Allmark like they've done all year. It's kind of weird to think about.
I mean, that's probably what they're gonna do, but I just don't know. It's never been done, so it's like
I get the whole if it's not broken, don't try and fix it kind of mentality.
Right.
But I think things just change so much from the regular season to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, you could argue it's a different sport, like how different the regular season and the playoffs are. And I know that shouldn't affect goaltending, but when you're rotating guys like that and you're asking them to basically take like 4 or 5 days off between games, I don't know. It's the endless
kind of need
rest
someone to
versus
get
rust.
hot. Yeah. I think this problem works itself out, but I do think
it's a good problem to have.
It is, but I think they end up with a guy. Like I think they'll do the rotating thing throughout this first series. I think it'll be a long series. And I think one of those guys in his first couple of games will just look worse and they'll just stick with the other one. I don't know which one it's going to be, but that's kind of what I expect to happen.
The other thing about this series for me is I know that there's multiple storylines coming into it. In my opinion, there is one storyline coming into the series, and that is that the Toronto Maple Leafs cannot beat the Boston Bruins to save their lives at all. I mean, I know we make this analogy all the time, but the best analogy for it is the Caps finally beating the Penguins. So the big question to me is that going to happen this year?
Do the demons get exercised? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I texted you guys this earlier, and this is one of the storylines. The Leafs and Bruins have met twice in the Matthews era, and then the infamous Bergeron Game 7 winner right before he was drafted. The last 3 series between these two clubs have all gone 7 games, and the Bruins have won all 3 of them. Yeah. That is pain.
It is pain.
That is pain personified.
The Game 7 where the Bruins came back and Reimer's laying on the ice, that is easily one of the best playoff series of all time in my book.
So there's a couple other storylines coming into here. So I mentioned Toronto's offense. We all know how explosive they are. Matthews got 69 nice goals this season. Nice. But I think we all know that Matthews and Marner have kind of, I don't want to say faded away, and last year they won a round, but they haven't performed up to the hype in the postseason historically, right?
Yeah.
This is the series to ball out and go all in.
You can't go dark.
They got to show up for sure. Domi and Bertuzzi, two guys that are going to play a huge role in this. Bertuzzi going against his former club too.
True.
These two guys are going to have to bring it for Toronto. They were really good towards the end of the season. If they can keep that up, that kind of gives Toronto some flexibility with Tavares and Nylander and what they're going to do with those guys. So just like, and obviously, we got to talk about your guys' favorite player, Ilya Samsonov. What are we going to get?
Well, I just spent a couple minutes critiquing what the Bruins have going on in net, and it's a non-issue when you look at what's going on in between the pipes for Toronto, because I fully expect this to be the opposite of like they put a guy in, he can't get the job done, they go, okay, how about you then? And they go to the next guy and he sucks too, and they're back to option number one. That's what we've seen a lot of for these guys. What's the deal with Matt Murray? We're not seeing that, are we?
No, I don't. I don't
That's
think
not
so.
like
I mean, he's done, right? Like,
No,
to.
it's like the Titan.
But I know he's trying to work his way back, but that's not like a this year kind of thing, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't seen that.
So it's Samsonov and Wool, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, they're probably going to start Sammy game one, I'm guessing.
I would probably guess. Yeah. I mean, if you look at his numbers this year, I've got him pulled up right now, and this is why win-loss can be deceiving sometimes. He went 23 wins and 7 losses this season, but he had a save percentage of 890 and a goals against above 3, which is not great.
I would be curious to cherry pick those stats after he got called back up, because they sent him down.
Yeah.
I think he was pretty solid after that.
He played way better after that. I'll give it to him. And then, you look at, so we talked about Toronto, they can score and they kind of lack a little bit of goaltending. Well, for Boston, we mentioned they have the goaltending. They have good defensemen. Maybe one of their weaknesses, if this turns into a shootout series, I do not think that the Boston Bruins can match the offensive firepower of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if this goes running gun, it's game over.
That's my biggest issue with them. I mean, it's like we said it before, but you look at the Bruins on paper, that lineup, and you're kind of like, who? Like a lot of these guys,
how is
like,
this team good?
Yeah, and it's mostly because of like the goaltending, honestly. I don't know. The other thing that's tough for me personally predict this series is because obviously you watch the most amount of games against your own favorite team. So I'm thinking about how the Caps play Boston and how the Caps play Toronto, and we just get worked by the Maple Leafs every single fucking time. And we actually match up really good against the Bruins. So that's kind of feeding into my biases a little bit right now. I know it shouldn't. Caps don't matter in this series, but I don't know. It factors into my decision making just a wee bit.
No, I totally get the eye test thing. I think that absolutely goes into gut feelings here. Yeah.
This is tough.
This is tough.
This is tough. I mean, just some two more numbers for the Leafs. They led the league in 5-on-5 goals, so they can score at even strength. And then on the power play, they had the 7th best one in the league.
Yeah.
They can kill you both ways. So I feel like we talked more about the Leafs, but obviously that's going to get the drama. That's going to get the headlines. And if Matthews and Marner don't play up to par, that's going to be a problem. So what do you guys think?
So this is the one that I've had my mind made up since like we knew that this was going to be a series. Boston in 7.
Wow. Bowens is kicking himself.
I'm sorry, man. You know what? I know it was his birthday recently. Sorry, hate to do that to you, but I just look at it. It's just eye test for me. I'm sorry.
Mac, what are we doing here?
As much as I would love to see the guy succeed, I just don't think Ilya Samsonov is up for the amount of pressure that is going to fall on not just that team, but specifically on him in the next week or two. And because of that, I'm going Bruins in 7.
And that right there was 75% of my decision.
It's not even that he's like so terrible or whatever. It's just right. I know he's got issues with confidence or has in the past. And I just think that's a recipe for an absolute nightmare here in this situation.
Unless like the trainer like physically stitches that hockey stick to his hand, this could be a problem.
Yeah, and by the way, like I'm assuming he's the starter. I'm seeing on Daily Faceoff. I was just going through their lines. They have Martin Jones as the second guy, so who knows? Maybe it's I don't know. But regardless of both of those, I don't love the goaltending regardless. So you two go Boston, which really makes me want to go Toronto. And you guys know
Somebody's got to do it.
I
It's like
pull for
what,
the
your
Leafs
third favorite team?
or whatever. I pull for the Leafs. I usually pick them. I want to pick them so bad.
Do it. Do it. Pick them. Pick them so we don't all look so stupid when they win in like 5.
Do you honestly want to know the one thing that's bothering me is similar to the Rangers? Boston underperformed last year. They got embarrassed, and that's
Yeah,
sticking with them. Like they
that
were the
is true.
best team of all time, and they
That's
lost in the
true.
first round. And I just can't help but think that like they're gonna come back with a vengeance. And this line, that minus 120 screams like that. I don't know. This is so hard. I'm gonna go Boston. I hate that I'm doing that. I don't want to do that. I want to pull for the Leafs, but I gotta go Boston. I'll do Boston in 7. Why not?
Ooh, love it.